Coming up next is DC News number 92. It's an all musical chairs edition of DC News. And in it, we're going to be talking about creators who are moving from one book to another around the 5th, 6th, 7th issues, which is when all contracts were sort of due on the New 52. In it, we're going to talk about Fury of Firestorm, Green Arrow, Superman, Stormwatch, Static Shock, and Nightwing. Creators on all those books are going to be moving around. Also, we've got a little bit of Vertigo news. We've got a story on Spaceman over at Vertigo. All that and more coming right up.
When DC Comic Books does something, Bo just can't wait to tell you. Squealer.
We tweaked Wonder Woman's origin. Ooh, was that a slap. DC Comic Book News, episode 92, To Reap the Wild Turnip.
Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome once again to my Video Outhouse. It's time once again for Bocephus.
DC News.
DC News with Bocephus. And DC News is coming to you from this place right here, Alternate Reality, which is located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. And believe me, if you've never been to Mount Greenwood, it is beautiful.
Liar!
Bring a camera.
You don't want to miss Mount Greenwood when you're touring Chicago.
Only if you're really, really drunk.
Yeah, only if you're really, really drunk. Alternate Reality, where all new comics, including all my DC comics, and my Vertigo comics, and my Paradox Press comics, and my Wildstorm comics, and all the other imprints that don't exist at DC anymore, are always 15% off every day for everyone. This is an all musical chairs edition of DC News. We've got a little Vertigo at the end, which isn't part of that, but this is essentially an all musical chairs edition of DC News. And the first musical chair we've got belongs to Gail Simone.
There's a rumor, the rumor popped up this week that Gail Simone is leaving Fury of Firestorm due to editorial interference.
Now, what could that be?
There have been a lot of rumors around DC about the way that the company's being run with the New 52. DC's always been heavily editorial.
The way it's run, that would be Dan DiDio.
That would be Dan DiDio. Apparently he's becoming a little too, as someone said, autocratic. My way or the highway. And I guess a lot of notes are being given to these people who are handing in their scripts. And so Simone is supposedly leaving Fury of Firestorm. Not Batgirl, but Fury of Firestorm.
You know, there's a panel running around, I think it's in Batgirl, where there's a subway car, and scrolled across the front of the subway car, it says Professor Stein is alive.
Yes.
And Gail Simone writes Batgirl, and up until now, apparently she's been writing Fury of Firestorm, and I wonder if that has anything to do with it, because she put that on the front of a subway car, and
Well, I'm assuming
there is no Professor Stein in Firestorm.
No, there's no Professor Stein in this story. Actually, there is a professor. You haven't seen him, but I think they talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the rumor that she's going to be walking away from the book.
Okay. Also moving around is an executive creator who is currently nameless, is rumored to be moving over to Marvel, an exclusive creator.
Yeah, there's a big the flip part of this is the autocratic thing and the fact that people are getting a little annoyed. Supposedly a major DC exclusive creator is about to leave to go to Marvel.
Well, you know, DC doesn't have all that many exclusives to begin with, so it can't be that hard to figure it out.
So it's like looking down the list and figuring out who is going away. And apparently there's more creators following. When the rumor came up, the rumor was that Marvel's getting a lot of phone calls from DC people looking for work. And it's the part where Marvel's like, you guys got to stop calling us. Because we don't really have enough work for all you people.
Okay. Not leaving the company, but J.T. Cruel, who is the writer on Green Arrow, is moving.
He's leaving the book with issue number 4. He'll be replaced by Keith Giffen for 5 and 6. And Ann Nocenti, who hasn't written a monthly comic since 15 years ago.
A while back.
Yeah, she'll be taking over the issue with 7. Ann Nocenti is, of course, a friend of Bob Harris's. Bob Harris is a DC VP, and so this falls on the line of all the people who used to work at Marvel years ago coming back to DC to work on a regular basis.
Great. Also moving is George Perez. He is not leaving Superman, but
Well, we think he's not leaving.
Well, we think he's not leaving Superman, but he is doing something.
He's going to be leaving the book. He's going to be leaving Superman as the writer with issue number 6. The book will be
He's still doing covers, though, right?
He's still going to do the covers, and there's a rumor he may stick around as the inker, but Keith Giffen and Dan Jurgens are going to co-write that book starting with issue number 7. Notice a trend here. We're going to issue 6 and going to issue number 7. 6-issue contract.
6-issue
Next
contract.
group.
And then Keith Giffen does the writing.
As we mentioned in DC News 91, when the New 52 was first put together, every book had an ironclad 6-month contract that creators were onto. So if something like, say, Men of War wasn't performing after 6 issues, they could axe it. Of course, that also meant that creators could change after the 6th issue as well. And that appears to be what's happening here. 5th, 6th, 7th issues there seem to be musical chairs going on with a lot of these
people
books.
hanging over.
Stormwatch, speaking of which, Stormwatch's Mark Bernardin?
Bernardin.
What's he doing?
He's replacing John Rosen on Static Shock because Rosen left that book. Actually, he left after 1, so we're assuming that Scott McDaniel is working with outlines from that point.
Okay.
His first issue will be issue number 7.
Okay. What about Kyle Higgins on Nightwing?
Kyle Higgins is posted apparently on Twitter and a couple other places that he's having a lot of problems with DC editorial as well, but he's not leaving Nightwing just yet.
Not just yet.
Right.
In about 20 minutes.
Right. So, yeah, he's not leaving yet, but he's having troubles with editorial as well.
Okay, so everybody's shifting around issue 5,
Yeah,
6,
musical
7.
chairs.
Some people are actually shifting out the front door, and nobody seems to be very happy with editorial over at DC right now.
Well, DC's always been heavily editorial driven. This is basically
Long before Dan DiDio.
Long before Dan DiDio should have. But DiDio, the comparison that people said is that he was behaving a lot like Bill Jemas.
Oh, I hated him.
The problem with that is the fact that actually a lot of the stuff that DC's doing right now comes from the stuff that Bill Jemas and Joe Quesada was doing. The concept of writers walking into an office and pitching them, and then Jemas and Quesada and a whole bunch of editors basically ripping your idea to shreds to see if you actually had balls enough to keep working on that book. That's something DC's doing right now.
That's something Jemas used to do at Marvel?
That's something Jemas did at Marvel. And DC, the whole point behind these new 52 books is they brought in a couple other people who said, pitch. That's one of the reasons why Brian Wood was gone. Wood had Supergirl, then he said, no, we don't want you to do Supergirl. We want to give it to some other guys. So this is the same thing. So it sounds like DiDio's running the book company like Marvel.
Well, Wood was on Supergirl for all of 1 issue, wasn't he?
Wood, no, he never even got to do Supergirl.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was Nick Spencer.
It was Nick Spencer did that 1 issue, and that was the same thing. Nick Spencer left Supergirl because editorial kept giving him notes telling him about stuff he was doing wrong. He said, I don't need this.
Yeah.
So
I'll go over to Marvel. They'll give me a bunch
I'll
of
go over to Marvel. They give me a bunch of money.
Okay, that's musical chairs. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we've got one Vertigo story, and that Vertigo story involves Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo. Now, those are the folks, of course, who did Ex Machina, and
No, we did 100 bullets.
or 100 Bullets. I'm sorry, 100 Bullets. I'm thinking of something else. 100 Bullets. And they're teaming up again to do another Vertigo title, which is coming out real soon, called
Spaceman.
Spaceman.
It's a science fiction title. It stars a genetically engineered man named Orson, who was engineered by NASA to make the long journey to Mars, but before they got to Mars, the program got canceled, and so he's walking around Earth and hanging out. Now, issue number 1 is only going to cost you $1.
It's a $1 book.
And I think it comes out like Halloween week. And the idea is it's not going to be a regular ongoing thing. It's going to be 6, 8 issues. They'll take a little time off. They'll come back to do more issues. And Azzarello, Rizzo, and Johnson, who Dave Johnson will be doing the covers, they got a bunch of other stuff coming up. But this is the first idea that they had. They said, let's do this one right now. We'll do the other stuff later.
Okay.
So they're hanging out together for a while.
Azzarello doesn't have an exclusive with Marvel?
Azzarello works for he works for DC. He doesn't have an exclusive for DC. He's worked at Marvel before, so Azzarello's in that point where he's just more or less a free agent.
Okay. I thought Azzarello was writing something.
No. He could write anything he wants. Like I said, he doesn't have his exclusive.
Okay, and that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. You can go home now. But before you do, stop off at the store's website and check out all the news that Bo sends me that I post up, DC Comics wise. Bo, where's the store's website at?
Sarah knows all this stuff.
Maybe you AARP or you should try Ginkgo biloba. www.myalternatereality.com.
So stop off at the store's website and check out all of Bo's DC news. And until next time, this is Comic Book Man
And this is Bo.
saying, go home now. Bye!
The Video Outhouse is brought to you by some of the finest people willing to work for free. This is a list of some of them.